Okay. Hello, everyone. Well, I don't know if there's anyone here, but I'm just going to assume I'm talking to a lot of people. And I'm hoping my sound is okay. So if anyone can just tell me if you can hear me, that would be awesome. I would just appreciate it. Can you hear me? Okay, sound is good. Thank you, Karen. Right on. Hi. I have my girl Kirsten with me. Come say hi. There's her hand. She will be monitoring any questions or the chat. And I would just love it if you can ask me questions, if you have anything. And I'm just going to go ahead and make this page. I apologize if you're watching the live stream later and you might have heard me say a bad word. But anyway, it's all in good. It's all good. I had some technical difficulties. Right on. So let me start. I'm in the process this year. It's my intention to make a new art journal page every month with a theme. And my theme for this year is affections of the heart. And I am just in the third month. So the first two was available to purchase on my website. And the first one was this one, Beauty for Ashes. Beautiful Ashes. And then the second one was this one called A New Heart. And now we're on our third page, which I call Open. And this is the page that we're going to be making today. I'm just going to put it here so I can see what we're supposed to do. And first of all, this is the paper I'm using. So it's called Canson watercolor paper, and it's nice and heavy. So it's 300 pounds or 140 pounds or 300 grams. I'll hold it closer there you can see. And I love working on this paper. It's also the paper I use to cut my stencils with on my Silhouette Cameo. So without further ado, what? Can you see it?
It's just shaking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, wait, I just have to fix one thing. Yeah. Okay. I just had to adjust my earbuds. All right. So this is what we're going to start. First of all, I will have everything that I created for this layout on my website just a little later today. So it will be this illustration, and I put it on a USB stick and I went to Staples and I just photocopied it in color. And that's all you need to do. So it's just normal copier paper, and I love it because the laser printer or copier has pigment ink, so even if we paint over it, it won't smudge. So that's a easy way to just get the illustrations. And then I also made stencils with my Silhouette Cameo, and I will have the templates and the PNG files for you on my website so that you can use your Cricut or your Silhouette Cameo and just make recreate those. Okay, first of all, and if I sound a little out of breath, it's because I'm a little nervous. Okay, first of all, I'm just going to use water, and I'm going to spritz the back of this image with a little bit of water. And this is just to make the paper a little bit more susceptible to the medium. And I'm using matte medium from Liquitex, and I'm just going to add this to the back of my illustration, and just going to paint it on. And I'm not being spaced with it. I'm actually using quite a bit. And then you can just turn it around and stick it down. So the edge of this flower is about 5 centimeters from the edge of the paper, and that's cool because I want to use my stencil with the words on this side. So I just need a little bit of room, and now I'm just going to use what was left on my brush and just paint the top. And this will take a little bit to dry, so you can just set it aside, or you can use your embossing tool to dry it with. But I did prep a page. In fact, I'm not going to wait for it to dry because I want to paint. I don't have the time, but it will be a good idea to just take a little time to let it dry. And now I'm just going to add gesso to my background. And why I'm doing this is because gesso is a perfect surface preparation element, and I love using it because it creates a little barrier between. I'm just going to dry my brush. It creates a barrier between the media and the paper, so that when I use washes or acrylic paint or molding paste or gel on it, it won't seep into the paper. So gesso is wonderful, and I'm just going to paint a very thin layer of gesso over on the background. You can actually use a card. That's what I usually use, but I'm using a paintbrush today because I want to paint on the little illustration as well. I like it to be integrated into the page versus that it looks stuck onto the page. So I'm just doing this, and this dries fairly quickly. And just so you know, this is a paper thin layer of gesso, so you don't need a lot. You just need a very, very little bit of paint. All right, so I'm going to set this aside, and then here is a page that's dry. I did some preparation work. Okay. I know. It's a big discussion in my house how you pronounce gesso. I know Tia, my oldest girl, has a fine arts degree, and she's like, Mom, it's called gesso. And I'm like, no, it's gesso. Maybe it's just because I grew up in South Africa and the G is a hard G sound. So I think I appreciate you correcting me, but I don't think you're going to change my mind on that one. Maybe I'm just stubborn. Okay, so now we're going to paint with blue, and I'm using phyllocyanine blue or phthalo blue. And I'm also going to add in a little bit of Prussian blue. I love Liquitex paint, so about half and half. And we're just going to paint with a brush that is fairly wet, not super wet, but just a little bit. So I'm just going to mix the two paint colors. And now we're just going to paint. So what I'm doing here is I'm painting with the heavy body paints at the bottom. You can see how solid the color is. And I'm just going to be careful to paint around my illustration and not on it. And I'm going to be mindful to keep a little border around my page. And this is just because I love working in books, and I have a book here somewhere, I'll show you. And when you work in a book, you want to keep a little border around your page, because otherwise it bleeds, and you can see there how my paint has splattered. It just bleeds onto the next page, and this is something that you don't really want to have happen. So So you can see I'm honoring it. It's not a perfect border in the least, but at least there's a little bit of a border, and that's just to prevent the page from bleeding. Also, why I like to keep a border is if you decide to frame it, or then there's a little bit of room to add a mounting amount to it, and and it just looks nice. And maybe it's the designer in me that just likes to keep a little bit of a white border around my page. It's the only rule I have in art journaling. Well, I have one more, but not a lot of people listen to me on that one, so I won't repeat it. So I'm just painting the bottom half of my illustration with this gorgeous, gorgeous blue paint. And now what I'm going to do is, let me just put the water there. I hope you can see it. Yeah, you can see it. And I'm just going to clean my brush. So I'm just rinsing my brush. Yeah.
You use Mod Podge instead of matte medium?
You can use Mod Podge. Absolutely. I just find that the matte medium makes it a little, I don't know. I like the way the matte medium sticks it down. But if you're stuck at home, like we all are, and you only have Mod Podge, then absolutely yes, use Mod Podge. So now I'm cleaning my brush, and this is just a wet brush. I might just dry it slightly, and I'm going to be painting from the top. I don't know if you can see the light blue on painting, but look now what happens the moment I start painting into the darker color. Then it picks up the pigment on the brush. So I'm washing it again, slightly drying it, and then I'm painting some more. So what I want to do is have the solid color in the bottom, and then a slightly lighter, like a wash, on the top of my page. And now I'm just going to go over to this side and basically do the same thing. But you just want to keep on cleaning your page. Not your page. You see, this is where live video is a little intimidating, because on a voiceover I can just edit that. But now I cannot. So I have to be really careful what I say. So you just want to keep on painting. I think this might be a hair or something. Hey, so annoying. And I don't want to go over the edge of and you have to take it off now, otherwise it will dry on it. Okay, so this is more or less what you want. In the end, we're not even going to see the blue, but you know what? Art journaling is about the process, and it's not about the finished product. Of course you want a pretty page, but in this process we are learning so many techniques. So that's why I'm teaching the process and not just figuring it out and just painting the final product. And I love look how beautiful this is. It's just stunning how this wash is drying, and I just love, love, love this effect. Right, so here's a page that's dry, and you can see I get the same results. So that's the good thing, even though it looks a little different, but the results are more or less the same. So now we're going to be working with our stencil, and I'm using heavy gloss gel. You can get this in any brand. Liquitex makes a good one. That's the only two brands that I really use. And you just want the heavy gel in gloss. You can use it in medium as well. And if you have like just a regular gel, use that one. Just try it. It might just work perfectly. Use what you have. So I love gel, and it has a lot of the same consistency than light molding paste. You can see it looks like icing sugar, and I love it. So let me explain to you as best as I can how to work with a stencil and this gel. So I'm going to position my stencil just so that all the areas are just covered in blue. Just a side note, if you don't have a silhouette cameo, you can use any word stencil on this page. So this is one by Heidi Swap, and I've had it for years and years, and I still use it, so I love it. But because my theme for this year is Affections of the Heart, I decided to make this stencil on my silhouette, and I just love Proverbs 4:23 that says, "So above all, guard the affections of your heart, for they affect all that you are. Pay attention to the welfare of your innermost being." And that's the words that I use. I used the same paper that we're painting on, this watercolor paper, to cut it. I did a double cut. And what I like about this is because when I spread my, what are you doing? You're making a noise, child. So what I'm doing is I'm going to spread my gel through it, and the thickness of the paper is the right consistency so that I can scrape it all off. So let me show you. So you position your gel, you just put it down. You have to press really hard with your fingers so that your stencil don't move. So this hand is just going to do the heavy work, like getting a little workout. And then with the back of your stencil, you just want to use broad strokes. And so you don't want to do little strokes like this. You just want to do broad strokes and scrape it through the stencil. And so I'm just going to do it in the top as well. And this is amazing. So this gel dries 100% clear. I'll show you in the next page because I did one where the gel is dry already, I think. And you can just put the rest back. And then when you lift this up, look how pretty that looks. And I've used this stencil multiple times. So that's the other cool thing about creating your own stencils with a good quality paper is you can use them again and again and again. And there you can see how lovely the words look. Now I'm just going to clean my stencil, and I just have a piece of scrap paper here. Let me just make sure that this cord doesn't strangle me and doesn't bother you. So I'm just going to scrape it off. And if you want to, you can even turn it around and quickly scrape it clean. So here you are ready, and you can use it again and again and again. So, and now you just want to close your... I always put my little spatula or it's a spatula when you bake. It's a palette knife when you art. So just put it in the water so that it doesn't harden, the gel doesn't harden. And then you can just close this and you can hang this up or just set it aside to dry. So, okay. Now, here's one. So, surprise, you can't even see the letters, right? But when I turn it slightly, you might be able to see the shine of the letters on there, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So now we are going to paint and wash, and we are going to do a few techniques that will make the lettering appear magically. Okay. So first of all, we're just going to paint. So I'm using this beautiful bright aqua color, so you just need a little bit, literally just a splash. We're going to use this beautiful brilliant yellow, a little bit more of this, and then also just a touch of yellow, because yellow makes everything better. Right, and then white paint. And I'm going to mix in a little paint that is just going to be the happiest color you've ever seen. So I'm using a little bit of the green, and then I'm doing a little bit of the aqua and a touch of the yellow. And let's just mix that in. And it's just the most beautiful little paint color. Okay, and now I'm just going to paint. And I'm actually a little sad that I'm painting away this lovely wash that we did, but it's part of the process. And you know what? If you want to keep the wash, we'll do another page at some point where the wash show. You can do a very light cover here, like with a fairly dry brush, but I am just going to paint with quite a bit of a solid brush and a lot of paint. I'm opening up an area so that I can do my journaling and my title. So that's why I need this little bit of calm on here. Now, if you take this brush and very lightly just brush over the letters, you can see how they appear. Isn't that amazing? And so that's one way to do it. I'm just cheating, I'm showing you this, but it's not really what we're going to use to make the letters come alive. Right, next up, I'm just going to add a little bit of contrast with black ink. So I'm just going to put a little black ink with the dropper at the bottom of my page. This is called Liquitex acrylic ink, and I love the Liquitex acrylic inks. If you've followed me a little bit, you'll know how much I love the inks. And I'm going to use a wet brush, and I'm just going to paint with, ideally you want to wait till this is dry, but I don't have the luxury of time. So I'm just painting with this black, and I'm just really I'm holding my brush very lightly, and it's not super wet, but it's slightly wet. So what's happening here is that gel resists the paint, so it also is a way to make the gel come alive. And then we're also going to use this beautiful violet, deep violet color, also from the Liquitex ink, and I'm just going to paint. I'm adding a little bit to the top of my page using the same brush, fairly wet, and now I'm just going to paint with that. And again, the words just pop right out when you do that. This is so much fun. You have to art journal with me. You'll love it. And then if you ever feel that, oh gosh, I accidentally painted a spot where, you just take a clean brush and you just wipe it away. And there you go. Your white border is still relatively intact. Okay, so this is, wait, I still just want to fix this. And you can splatter if you want to. You can use your artistic freedom. Okay, so this page needs to be dry before we carry on with our next step. And this is a page that I've done that's already dry. You can see that I actually, wait, let me just try and see if we can. I just want to show you. So what you do if you want those runs is when you do your black paint and your paintbrush is fairly wet, you can mix it into the black with a little bit of water that was on the paintbrush, and then you tilt your page and you press and hold, and then it will cause the paint to run. So you just press and hold, press and hold, press and hold, and I just love that. But you can do it actually in a very controlled way. It doesn't have to run away. You can just gently, by tilting your page, it's almost like maneuvering a ball on a surface. You can just very carefully do that. So I like this, so I'm just going to leave it like that. And here you can see I did the same, and these are just very wet brush, and I love how this dries. I love this whole look. Right now, so now we're going to just do our title. And I have a word here called open. And I'm just using a little bit of spray paint, and I'm going to spray my title. You can also use a stencil and just dab it. Maybe, wait, let's just, before we spray our title, let's first do our paint. So Kirsten, can you hand me a dark green in that little basket? There should be a dark green color. And so I like this stencil. This is our alternative stencil that you can use. I bought this one from Kaiser Craft, but you can see I've literally used it up. I don't know if it's still usable, but I can make it work. How you do it when a stencil is broken up a little bit. So I'll just spray the back with a little bit of adhesive, like the just spray adhesive, and then you can just stick it down, and then you can work through it. So that's one way. Or you can just use your cutting system and cut stencil. Okay, now the best way to use a stencil is with a makeup sponge, like a foundation sponge. And I love this. So I'm just taking out a little bit of green, darker green. And I'm going to mix in this lovely teal color with the darker green. I don't want it to be too dark. I want it to be a happy color. And then I'm going to mix in a little bit of this yellow with this lighter color. And not the yellow green, and actually add a tiny bit of yellow as well. Now I have a dark color and a lighter green, and I'm going to use this to do my stenciling, starting with the light green. The cool thing, I have a plastic, I went to Rona or any hardware store, and I bought a vapor barrier that they use for houses, and it makes the best covers for tables. So I'm adding a little bit of paint to my sponge, and then I'm just going to dab it on this plastic to get the most of it off the sponge, and then I'm going to go ahead and dab it through my stencil. The biggest trick here is maybe just work in layers and not to be in a hurry, but I'm always in a hurry, so I don't know if it's going to work for me today. But if you can, no, it's working. If you can add you just have to work in layers. This gives you like almost a perfect stenciling with the acrylic paint effect. So again, I'm adding a little bit more paint. It also looks like you did it with you know, a roller, so that can be nice. It just gives you that very grungy effect. And now we're just doing the darker green, and I'm just going to go ahead and mix it in a tiny bit with the lighter green, and then on the light parts I'm going to be stenciling with a little darker shade of the same color. Well, not the same color, you know what I mean. So this takes a little bit of time. And it's a lot of fun. There you go. And look how lovely that looks. I like the change of shade or color, and this is the first step, and then we can do our title with spray paint. So what I like to do is take 2 paint brushes and just hold it down like this. And now I'm just going to use a little bit of spray paint, and you just want to spray, spray and spray. So not a lot of, the lighter the better. Very, very little bit that you need. And then when you pick it up, it's perfect. I like the excess of the spray paint. I like the grunginess it creates. And this is a very cool way if you want to add some texture or markings to your page, is doing it with spray paint. I actually use some stencils that you can position and just spray. So that's a cool idea. You don't only have to use it with titles. You can actually just play around with it. Okay, and then the last thing that I'm just want to show you is a little bit of detail. So I'm using white acrylic ink and a very small brush. This is titanium white, and a small brush, and I'm just going to go ahead and paint in a little bit of detail around my leaves. So this part can take you an hour. This is the best part of the whole art journaling for me. I love this mindfulness that happens. It's like a meditation. You can create texture, you can create markings, and you know what, there's so much that you can do with a little bit of white paint. The thinner the brush, the better. This one is still a little big. I need to figure out where's my thin brushes. I hide them so well from my children that I can't find them myself. And then, you know, you can just create this whole, almost another story on your page with just connecting, you know, your vines. And this takes time, and this is really, to me, the when I add the finishing details on my art journal page is my favorite part. Okay, so you get the idea. And then lastly, we're just going to add a tiny bit of happiness. So yellow to me it's not my favorite color, but I like it because it always feels happy. So I just need a clean brush here. Wait, here's one. And clean water. So you need a clean brush and clean water. Oh, this one is not clean. Okay, now it is. And we're just going to add a little bit of a yellow wash. And that to me is like just a finishing touch. What I like about it is you can see the spray paint is resisting the water-based ink. And that's kind of cool because that just means that it's more texture on your page. And then after everything is dry, I will go ahead and just do my journaling with a Sharpie pen. I like to use pens that is felt tipped. Now let me just see if I can find one in my drawer really quick. This, I don't know if this, yeah. So this one is very small, but something that's felt tipped works great. You can just a plain fine tip Sharpie. This one is perfect. This pen, you buy it at Staples. This is actually one of my favorite art journaling pens. I don't know if you can see, but it really works great if you write on. If you write.
Any tips for painting portilla? I joined late, so.
What? Any tips for?
Painting a portilla. She joined late, so.
Painting?
A portilla.
A protea. Oh, painting a protea. Oh, I painted this one. You know what? Just find a photo online and just practice. That's what I did. Like, I love. Oh, the protea. Okay, I get what you're asking. Let me just show you. Kirsten, can you hand me that page, one of those images there? So what I did, if you joined late, and you can actually rewatch this video, is this is how we started off. I created this illustration and it will be available on my website. Just give me an hour to put it up and you can download it for free and you can just print it with a color copier or a printer that uses pigment ink or laser printer. Because dye ink, if you paint over it, it will smudge. So this is what I used.
How did you create the illustration?
How did I create the illustration? With my iPad Pro. I love digital art and that's how I did it with my iPad Pro. So all of this is actually just digitally painted. Yeah. Maybe I'll do a tutorial on that one day. So thank you for joining me in this lovely class. I like the YouTube forum a lot more than Instagram. And if you have any questions, I'll hang around for a little bit, maybe a minute or two if you have any questions, or if you want me to maybe do another YouTube live video, I would love it. Yes.
iPad Pro tutorial.
iPad Pro tutorial. Okay, maybe I'll see if I can figure something out. The thing is with iPad Pro, you can't put it under a camera and just work with it. But what iPad Pro does have is it records your screen. So maybe I could do that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. So thank you so much for visiting me. Remember to go to iHeartStudio.ca and I will have everything up, for you to download for free, the proteas. So this illustration, and you can just print it on a letter paper. I just cut mine out. And then I'll have this PNG file for you to make your own stencil, and also this one. So you can have, all the tools to create along with this. And I will also add my live video to my website. So not website, my YouTube channel. I'll make it live, available. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.